been to a bunch of museums as a kid, and I go back now, and a lot of the displays are the same. And I can see why that happens because it's hard to develop something new. It takes a lot of time. But from a visitor's perspective, I don't want people to come here once and never come back. So our initial displays, uh, some of the folks we worked with had big plans. Well, how many feet do you need for this display? Or how many would you want 10 feet for that? Or would you want 15 feet? And I just started off when we first were making it thinking, okay, I want to display about education to schools. I want to display on agriculture. I want to display on veterans. And I started on one side of the room and made displays until we basically filled the room up. But agriculture is the key to the history of the area. And there were at one point, I think around 300 dairy farmers in Jefferson. And so that's a key. And we'd had an agriculture display for several years. Last year, I thought we have to address dairy more specifically. And we had a butter churn that was used by Martha Danforth in 1893. She was a widowed woman. She made butter in that butter churn, a rocking butter churn, took it to the World's Fair in Chicago in 1893 and won a certificate of excellence in butter, which is still hanging on the family's wall in their kitchen, and they still make butter, or they're making butter again. So we had that already as a focus of the display. That's one of the main things we show people. But we also developed a display on the housing, how are dairy cattle housed over time, and showing different types of barns and having wooden stanchions, metal stanchions, freestall barns, tie stall barns, different types of housing for the cattle, how that's changed over time. And we thought it's important too to show what were the different types of dairy cows that were here or have been here over time. So we developed an interactive display where people can look at the pictures of the cows that I identified in modern times that were milked in Jefferson. And then in the 1800s, there were different breeds of cows, Shorthorns and Devons, that are not that common now. So there's a little display where you can look at these pictures of the cows and say, okay, I know that black and white one, that's a Holstein. You can flip up the picture of the Holstein, and then underneath it'll say it's a Holstein cow, where they came from, that they're one of the larger cows, and they're the high volume milk producer. People raise Holsteins as a dominant animal here now because they produce more milk than any other cow, and volume relates to your profits. And then you may also flip up the picture of the Jersey and see, okay, this is a little bodied cow. It doesn't produce much milk, but it's a much more rich milk, high butter fat. If you want butter, you raise Jerseys because they produce a massive amount of cream that can be turned into butter. And then if you look at Ayrshire, there's different advantages or disadvantages to them versus brown Swiss. So there, people can see, okay, these were the cows that have been here over time. And these are the reasons why you would have raised one species versus another. Uh, so that's impetus for the ag. The school, just in general, everybody who lived here at one point went to school. So we have a history of the schools. We have a display on what the schools were in the hamlet itself, starting from a log cabin on the green, which had 2 rooms. Teacher lived in one, teacher taught in the other, and had a short commute. And then they went to and the first academy in Schoharie County was just off the green where the Methodist Church is now. And there's information about that academy. And it went out of business. They tore it down. They put up a 2-room schoolhouse there. And then 1900, they tore that down and made the first high school. And until 1900, most people went to school from kindergarten to 8th grade. Or there was no kindergarten, 1st grade to 8th grade in a 1-room schoolhouse. So we have information about those schools and when they built in the 1930s